That was Phases by the Brooklyn-based duo Butler, aka Pat Butler and Phil Shore. They blend a kaleidoscope of styles, including pop, indie rock, trip hop, and club music with acoustic, digital, and analog instrumentation. All this into a unique soundscape. And in 2020, they released a double bill of EPs, Clementine and Grow. And now the pair are back with their debut album. It's called Journey Work, and they're here in the studio to tell me more about it. Thank you guys for being here. It's really exciting to have you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you make us sound really impressive.
Well, you are. You deserve it. So congratulations. This is your first album, debut album. It's a milestone achievement, and you've been working on this one for 5 years.
Yeah.
Feels like all that hard work is reflected in the title, Journey Work. What does that title mean to you guys?
Yeah.
You want me to go first?
I mean, it sort of covers a lot of ground, I would say. I think that it refers literally to what you're talking about. It was a journey to get to this point with this record, but it's also, I think we're just talking about different emotional moments in our life over the past 5-10 years, whatever it was. That each sort of have their own just specific sort of it's not like a big concept or anything like that. It's just there's these little sort of moments that we're sort of highlighting, whether it's musically or emotionally or whatever.
Because you mentioned that there's kind of an attitude behind the album focused on self-acceptance and a mission to explore and express the full spectrum of the human experience. How do you translate that into music?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, certainly, a lot of the reason I like to write music and record music is as a way of sort of dealing with emotions, and not even it's like a lot of times personally for me, I'll be very numb when I'm experiencing something negative. And so just sitting down and playing the piano for me is a great way to sort of process and understand how I'm feeling, and then a lot of those things that I'll be writing and stuff ends up making its way, into our music. So yeah, it's similar.
And I think too, just because of, the space that this took place over, or this album took place over, you get so much, the highs, the lows. It's just, there's a lot, I think, that happens to a person over such a long period of time.
And actually a lot of these songs, because they're so old, but they weren't fully finished until this year, basically, we've gone through various different emotional stages in our lives while working on the same song. And so the song could have been written feeling a certain way and then finished feeling a totally different way, and having a different perspective on the same emotions that we had previously. So
well, that really brings these complex songs. Let's take a listen actually to one of the songs off the album. It's called Tacoma. Take a listen. So that was a bit of the song Tacoma by Butler. I love the story how you guys met. You've known each other since childhood. I believe you took piano lessons from your father.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
So do you think this bond that you've created over the years, kind of like a bond between brothers, I'd say, how does that influence you creatively in your songwriting process?
Well, I mean, I think even just the fact that we learned music from the same person, I think we really speak the same sort of musical language and approach music in a very similar way. Even if I think sonically we write very differently, but we can almost communicate non-verbally at this point too about music. We'll be in the studio and just look at each other and use hand gestures and automatically know what we think we need to change and whatnot. So
yeah, I think so much too of our sort of musical development in terms of the kind of stuff that what influenced the stuff that we're doing we did together as kids. Like I can remember walking down to your house with like my booklet of CDs and being like, oh, you have to check out this new...
Showing me Nirvana.
Right,
exactly. Like 8 years old.
This is a really cool band. Yeah, exactly. And I think vice versa. I remember, being really impressed by like this kid down the street who was showing me all these bands I'd never heard of too. You know what I mean? So we just come literally and musically like just from the same place basically.
And
so.
grew together that way. And what I find interesting is there's a lot of dark kind of humor in some of your songs. You've got one song, for instance, it's called You're Old. And the lyrics go, you're old, you're gonna die. And all this in a very kind of upbeat song. Where does that contrast come from?
Well, I think that we are not afraid to, I would say not even just as musicians, we're not afraid to sort of discuss the more difficult parts of life or whatever it is. I think that we both have experienced our fair share of, difficulty with mental health or just, situations in our lives and everything. And a lot of times humor is just like creating art or anything like that, a lot of times humor is an easy way to sort of process that kind of stuff. And that's just been how I write lyrics personally since I was a kid. I felt like maybe people would worry about me if I, was really honest about things I was feeling. But, if I kind of like played it off like it was a joke, then I can sort of say what I'm feeling and, maybe make people laugh and sort of like open them up to the idea that, people go through these things or whatever it is.
So really rich lyrics in your songs. We're gonna segue into another music news that's talking just about this. It's one of the most ardently anticipated new albums of the year. After a 5-year wait, Kendrick Lamar has dropped his 5th studio LP. It's called Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Now, since his previous album in 2017, that album was called Damn, the rapper has won 7 Grammy Awards and a Pulitzer Prize for music. He was the first rapper to do so. Now, this new album is typically dense, introspective, confessional, and it's divided into 2 9-track sides and features guests including Beth Gibbons of Portishead, Sampha, Ghostface Killer, lots of people on this album. And it includes very interesting themes as well, recurring mentions of therapy, cancel culture, romance, and it's already making waves, including the first music video released for the track. The track is called The Heart Part 5, and it uses deep fake technology to meld Kendrick Lamar's face with a series of other famous black men. Check it out, it's incredible.
Look what I done for you. Look what I done for you. I said I do this for my culture, to let y'all know what a nigga look like in a bulletproof Rover. In my mama's sofa was a doodle popper, hair trigger, walk up closer, ain't no photoshopping. Friends bipolar, grab you by your pockets, no option if you froze up. I always play the offense. Niggas going to work and selling work, late for work, working late, praying for work, but he on paperwork. That's the culture. Point the finger, promote you. Remote location, witness protection, they go hold you.
So that's Kendrick Lamar there with his new video. It must be said that the rapper AK has accused him of stealing his music video idea, but still incredible work there. You guys have incredible music videos as well. How involved are you in the visual aspect of your music?
I would say pretty involved.
Yeah, for like the Tacoma video, for example, we just had a conversation about sort of what we thought the emotional core of the song was, even though there's no lyrics. Basically it was like the sound of that yelling, like, voice is like the sound that I hear in my head when like I'm upset and like can't handle the emotions I'm feeling. It's just like, I can't think. It's just like, I just hear like a scream. And then, just like the gates of hell, like opening basically, and like Cthulhu or like, as some biblical angel coming to smite you. So, and then, yeah. So.
Got that on video. That's great.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to another piece of news. This is the Ohio blues rockers, the Black Keys. They're releasing their 11th studio album. It's called Dropout Boogie, and it nods to the greats of rock and roll. Now, this time they teamed up with some outside songwriters and ZZ Top's Billy Gibbons. Now, some music critics say that the Keys have reverted to the same old, but it's a catchy formula that has served them well, and it's certainly a craft they've perfected. Well, check out this track. It's called Wild Child. Finally, the French electro-pop singer-songwriter Magali Cotta, aka Canine, is back with her hotly anticipated sophomore album. It's called Source. Now, her debut album, Dune, gathered rave reviews back in 2019, and this follow-up is more luminous, intimate, and introspective. It's about an inner struggle before a renaissance, and we're going to leave you with a track off that album. It's called Sun. But before we go, I want to thank my guest today, Butler. Thank you, guys. So Phil and Pat, thank you so much for being with us here on France 24. Be sure to check out their new album. It's a great album. Definitely recommend them. And thank you so much for watching France 24. Stay tuned. More news is coming up right after this.